that's the kind of fire that I feel like you need around you.
Yes, sometimes you need to quit because you hear things like quitters never win. Well, I beg to differ. You're not a loser by walking away from abuse. If you're doing something that's not healthy for you, quit it. Move on to the next thing. You don't quit looking for the solution. You just quit that because that's obviously not the solution. People are at sometimes is they're just afraid to walk away because what happens is when I put that out, I attract the right person into my world.
It's like quality control. Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the McCove Mindset Podcast. I'm Kevin McCove, and today we're sitting down with my good friend Rick Barker. He's the former manager of Taylor Swift. He's the host of the Music Industry Blueprint Podcast, and he's a social media mentor for the American Idol contestants. This guy has given blueprints to the music industry to millions of artists across the world, and I'm really looking forward to bringing you the power of his message today in this podcast. As always, if you like what you hear, hit like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Let's get to it. What's up, Rick? Welcome to the McCove Mindset Podcast.
Appreciate it. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you on, actually. I was getting a little nervous. Like, are we going to make it? Are we going to be able to do it?
Well, as long as we both have a pulse, I don't know why it wouldn't happen. So,
you know, what's crazy is that, like, when I think back on it, I was like, yeah, we were really... I spent like the first 2 or 3 months of like 2021 talking to you every day for like an hour.
Yeah, that's what happens when we had that little Clubhouse outing coming out of COVID. It was like everybody just kind of found themselves, I don't want to say bored. I think bored's the wrong word, but there wasn't a lot of distraction. Right. So it was easy to show up someplace. I mean, I'd never showed up that consistent on anything, you know, whether it be the gym, whatever it is, but it was like, we really had nowhere to go. And I think what happened too is, and what kind of turned me off for a while is that there was just a lot of people on Clubhouse fronting. There was a lot of people talking good talks. And then you go look at their stuff and you're like, you know what, this person doesn't know jack. Or they would jump on whatever the hot topic was, you know, ISRC codes, you know, that one.
That was the buzz one. That
was one where they went and got everybody scared and then started selling their services and stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, there's just too many people preying on folks right now. It's like, I just don't need it. And then people would show up every day and we would motivate them and we would take our time and, you know, we would do what we set out to do. And then we would go look and it's like they would do nothing but just show up there every day. Like they're a bunch of lonely people. And we were the only folks that they could talk to. So it's crazy. I think
that was the reality for a lot of people. I think
it was.
For a lot of people, that was the reality, is that if they didn't show up and, you know, get that morning dose of motivation, you know, it was kind of like, oh, well, there's no real reason for
but you have to do something with motivation.
Right.
It's like filling your gas. It's like filling your car up with gas and never turning the car on. Sure, you got a full tank. Sure, you're ready to go, but until you turn it on and actually get behind the wheel and initiate drive and put your foot on the pedal, the car, unless it's a Tesla, won't drive itself.
Right.
You know, and I think a lot of people are putting their music career or their entrepreneurial spirit like it's a Tesla, thinking that it's just automatically going to drive itself and get them to that destination. When there's work that has to be done, and there's a reason why most people fail is because they aren't willing to commit to the work. They think that there's some magic pill or some magic person, or they're one contact away, or man, if I just got on this plate, or whatever the excuse is, it's just, there is no shortcuts to any of this stuff, you know? And then for people like us, the hour that I give to someone is an hour I could have been putting towards myself. It's an hour I could have been putting towards my kids. It's an hour I could have put towards my wife. It's an hour I could have put towards golf. You know, it's an hour I could have put towards anything. So what people don't understand sometimes is, yeah, it's great that you and I were showing up there every day. But if they don't do anything, it's like, I look at it as like, why am I showing up here every day? I don't
What was
need.
your why? Like, what I know, I have an answer for this for me, but for you,
Yeah,
especially when it started, like, what was the reason that you decided, hey,
the
I'm gonna get up
why
every day and
for
do this?
the why for me was to, one, build brand awareness, two, to commit to showing up to something every day for my own continued growth and well-being, of saying, hey, if you say you're going to do something, do it, because we all get distracted. So it was for my own working on something on my own that says, hey, I'm going to commit to this every single day. And then actually I was hoping to build enough brand awareness where people would say, hey, let me come check out this other stuff that this guy's going on, because I got bills to pay too. I haven't found a mortgage guy that will accept generosity yet as a form of payment.
When you find him, let me know.
I will. But so it's like so that those that was my why. Commit to showing up to do something every day. Go hopefully provide enough value to someone that they would want to come and see what else it is that I do, so that I can continue to, support my family and run the business that I'm running.
That's a really good why. That's like a very transparent why. I think that was actually a lot of why a lot of people were there, but maybe didn't present that. Like, I think for me it was definitely way different. It was more like I think I was one of the lonely people. Being on stage, not being on stage, not performing, not really having like social interactions. I'm like, I thrive off of that. I thrive
Sure.
around being around people and stuff, and
Yep.
not having any of that. I definitely felt like juiced out. I was definitely on like a low vibrational frequency. And then like you actually having the consistency made me have consistency. Because when you said like, oh, I've never had consistency, I'm like, yo, me either. Not like that. Like every
But
single day
it's
like
like
that.
it's like two guys that decide they're going to work out together, so they meet at the gym. They push each other to show up. They push each other. When I have to be there because Kevin's going to be there. You know what I mean? It's like I can't tell him, "Hey, come in," and then it's like, so that's what was great about it.
Yeah, it's like
And then,
accountability.
yeah, it developed that. And then what it did too was, I've always been, my mantra has been, allow me to earn the right to make you an offer. It's like, yes, I could come in and just sell, like a lot of people do. And that's what was happening with a lot of these rooms, man. People were just coming in, selling
Sell it.
hard, selling hard, selling hard. And I'm like, no, let me earn the right. But then I think, Kevin, where I got in trouble was that I kept showing up and I kept earning, but I never made offers. So I never, quote unquote, made offers on Clubhouse ever. Maybe I should have. You know what I mean? Maybe it was my fault because I had their attention. They were showing up every day. I was just assuming that they would end up on my email list, that they would end up over here and find out about it. And I think that was something that I got better at, was saying, hey, while I have your attention, full transparency, here's what's up.
Right.
I got something I want to send you. You're going to get on my list. I'm going to continue to provide value. I'm going to make an offer. If it's right, great. If not, that's cool too. But by not wanting to be like everyone else, even though I had earned the right to make those offers, I think it ended up, maybe financially costing a little bit in the long run, but ethically I felt good
Yeah, I think that
about
that's the
what was
point.
happening.
I think that's the main point. Like, I'm glad that you didn't. Like, not glad that you didn't if it turned into, lost acquired assets,
Nothing's
but
lost. Nothing's lost because lessons learned. I
right.
never lose anything. I always learn something,
Let them
and
know.
education costs money. Hopefully,
Right.
I'm getting a junior college education on the money loss and not a Ivy League.
Yeah, I learned so much like out of that whole experience, and I learned a lot from you. Like the cuz actually what was crazy is that I didn't yeah, I didn't know you. I didn't know you and I didn't know who you were until then. And then like we linked up in the vibe. I think that we kind of share a similar hustlers vibe. Like there's a
Yeah,
certain kind of cloth that we're cut from. And that connected. And so I was like, oh yeah, like this person's being kind enough to let me chat with them every day, like, and host this room. So I'm going to do that. And then like the consistency is showing up and really like learning how you were doing what you were doing.
Right.
That was like a masterclass. And the same thing, even like with Martin, it was like learning how you built what you built. And I think that like it touches on a point that it's sometimes I think that we as musicians fall into this space where it's like, even if we had the tools, we wouldn't know how to use them. And what I got to watch was someone who understood utilizing the tools, cause like it's really, really beautiful. I think when you really break it down, I wish that more artists found like the real beauty and the art of the sale. Like really, honestly, I'm just like, yo, what we do, we sell services,
But
or we sell
scared.
products.
Artists are scared to sell. And that's the problem, is that when it comes to asking for the money, they made the same mistake that I just made through Clubhouse, is I just assumed people would figure out what I needed. I just assumed it's there because they're like, hey, if he's going to show up here every day and provide value, I'll show up every day and accept the value. And he didn't ask me for nothing, so I didn't give him nothing. You know what I mean? It was like, I always tell people the solution and the problem to what's going on in your life is looking back at you in the mirror. It's like, I'm going to be the one who fixes it, or I'm going to be the one who continues to let it break. So artists the same way, is the mindset of the consumer, in my opinion, based off the people that I've talked with. When you've got great videos and they see you on social media and they see you on Spotify, dude, you've made it. You're loaded, because the reality, no one talks about the independent artist in the world of social media. They talk about this person made $1 billion touring, and this person sold $50 million in one day, and this person did this. They're like, well, crap, every artist must be making that kind of money. So they don't think about, hey, what can I do to support you? What can I do to help you? We know when we go to a restaurant and we buy that meal that we just paid for, proceeds from that help keep the lights on, help keep the restaurant running. If we just walked in and ate every meal and everyone left and they never paid, those businesses would go out of business real fast. Well, unfortunately, that's the music business that we're in, because the consumer does not have to pay for your product. They can go watch your videos for free, listen to your songs for free. So until you tell them, hey, I got this merch over here, or I've got this, we just have to do a better job of communicating and being okay with the fact that, hey, not everyone, but we don't need everyone. It's funny, you were talking, I just grabbed the 2021 Clubhouse quote book. So every day, for those that weren't a part of it, we had the Monday Motivation Power Hour. And every week we just talked about a quote. And I got, someone who hates you normally hates you for 1 to 3 reasons. They either see you as a threat, they hate themselves, or they want to be you. Just look at it. And then we would talk about it. So I got I just happened to.
All the gems. That's a memory. That's awesome.
Well, what I need to do is I need to go back in and take a look at the ones and get, my social media person to create these cool image cards with them and start throwing them back out there.
Yeah.
When's the last time you were even on Clubhouse?
What's crazy is that I still run a room on Clubhouse twice a month.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have a pretty dedicated group of people that I started a thing called Collaboration Social maybe like 2 years ago. And so I essentially teach the art of collaboration. I think that's something that like a lot of musicians don't truly understand, especially from songwriters. And so it's about teaching the art of collaboration, facilitating that process for them, getting them on like a timeline, understanding deadlines. So, you come in the first Friday of the month, introduce yourself, give strengths and weaknesses. And then I create teams, songwriting teams, where people's strengths, obviously complement someone else's weakness. And then on the third Friday of the month, we do show and tell. So people present their songs and stuff. They have a song every 2 weeks. There's people in here who have written like 20 songs over the last like year and a half, 2 years, because they show up to this room.
I'm looking at it. I still got like 5.3 thousand followers. Now they got something called houses. I might have to just pop in one day just to start something. I don't even know what conversations can be started anymore. I don't even know if I know how to remember to start a room. I'm just going to go in,
It's
push talk.
definitely not the same. When I say it is not the same, it's not the same. It's very different, but it was an easier like asset for me to just say like, okay, it's easy to stay consistent on this
Sure.
and continue to do that. And it's obviously I migrated them over, things I learned from you, right? Like I migrated them over to a WhatsApp community. And so like that's where all of our conversation, community
Cool.
building and all that kind of really takes place. But
Yeah, I kind of got out of that. I do, I last, so a couple things happened through Clubhouse. So when Clubhouse came along, I was exhausted. I just felt emotionally and physically drained because it seemed like everyone was using me as their medicine to get what they needed. And to get what I needed is I get on stage and I speak at these conferences. Those were gone. I am involved in a couple different masterminds where we get together 4 times a year, small groups. That was gone. So I wasn't able to get my energy. I was just giving,
giving.
giving, 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 showing up on Instagram, showing up on Clubhouse, showing up in all these different places. And then finally, I'm just like, man, I've got to perform. I got to figure out a way to do this. And that's when I ended up launching the Music Marketing Vault. As I went to about 8 different people and I said, look, I did a survey to my audience and I said, what's your biggest struggles? And they were like, marketing and promotion, which is always the case, marketing and promotion. So I reached out to a bunch of different people and I went online and started, TikTok marketing for musicians. I just started Googling a lot of different stuff to see what was out there. And a few people showed up. I bought their courses, spent about $3,000 on courses to see what was out there, but also to get a feel for these teachers because I'm a firm believer. Like you can't go to university or college and get a degree from one teacher in one book.
Right.
You're going to learn different perspectives from different people. And I decided a long time ago, I never want to be the expert in everything. I want to have access to the experts in everything. Oh, Henry Ford and the phones,
Yep.
it was just that kind of concept. So I went out and I said, I just did kind of like a state of the union in the MIB. I said, hey guys, listen, I'm exhausted. I just opened up. I just kind of laid it all out there. I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create this course. It doesn't have a name yet. It's not a finished product, but I want to teach it live over the next 3 weeks. I will set out a schedule. We'll show up. I'll teach. At the end, I'll do Q&A. And I said, if you want to be a part of it, here's the cost to be a part of this beta thing. Here's what I'm going to charge everyone when it's done. Half of that you can get in now. And I had like over 300 people send me almost $250
Oh, that's beautiful.
based off of trust, based off of
Right.
knowing what I had done for them before, and it was one of the best courses that I ever created. And then I did another one, the fan extraction formula. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to sit in front of a camera and just create courses. I want to do these workshops, man. I want to roll up my
Oh, the
sleeves. I want to
sleeves.
get
Yeah.
busy. So that's how I started creating my next 2 courses. Came from that idea of being beat down and exhausted and just being able to interact with that entrepreneurial minded artist. It's like I started doing these workshops, these 3-day workshops, and charge $7, just if you want to show up live and watch it for 24 hours. And I stopped doing it for free because I'm like, if someone can't see the value in spending 3 days with me for $7, they're not the person I can help anyway. And they're obviously not the person. So I had to be okay realizing I can't help everyone
Right.
because I tried for a long time. I'm like, I was going to convince those older artists to stop being scared of technology. And I was going to convince those younger artists to stop waiting around for someone to discover them. And then it got real, real exhausting. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done convincing. It's like, here's who I am. Here's what I do. If you're in,
Yeah.
cool. If you're not, I understand that as well. But that's where the frustration for me was why should I be investing the amount of money that I invest in my business every single year when people always say, hey, thanks for all that free content you put out there. I did a live where I brought on and I shared my tax returns. I challenge any other person in the music space to open up their tax returns and show these people what goes on in your business.
Right.
Nobody will do it. Scared to death. I did. Because I wanted them to see. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. I said, for that free information, let me show you what it costs me. And they saw how much I spent on having an email list. They saw how much I spent on Zoom every year. They saw how much I spent on Facebook and Instagram ads to give free information away. They saw how much I spent on coaching. I'm like, hey, if you have hire a coach, you better make sure that coach has a coach. Because if not, walk away from them. So I showed them a couple $100,000 of expenses in my business every year. And in the end, I keep about 180 to 200,000. Nothing crazy. I'm not buying new cars. I'm not buying new watches. I'm keeping almost what I spend for that free content that people want to thank me for. And it was at that day that people looked at me in a whole completely different way because of that full transparency. So what I said to them is I said, how can you expect people to invest in your business, like buying a t-shirt or whatever the case may be, when you are unwilling to invest in your own?
Right.
You attract what you are. I'll repeat that.
Deep.
You attract what you are.
You attract what you are.
Myron Golden says it the best. The freeples, the cheaples, and the preeples. There's the freeples. They just want everything for free. They expect everything for free. They're the ones jamming up your inbox, jamming up your DMs. They want the world, but they're unwilling to pay. The cheaples, they're always looking for something on the cheap. That's cool. Most people start off, if you can get somebody to start as a cheaple and get them to a preeple, the preeple's the premium. The preeple's the person that comes in and after they spend $5,000 with you, gives you a hug and says thank you.
Right.
The cheap will say, well, what am I getting for this $5,000 and how many hours are you going to spend with me and what results should I expect to be guaranteed at the end of spending this $5,000? You never hear a preeple ask for a guarantee because they know the guarantee comes from the work that they put in, not the product itself. I guarantee you that car will get you from point A to point B. It's the only guarantee I can give you. How fast you get there, it's up to you. How long it takes you to get there, that's up to you. If you even get in the frickin' car, that's up to you. And people that want guarantees are people that lack certainty.
Preach it, Rick.
Because they don't believe in themselves. They don't believe that they'll do it. Has nothing to do with anything else. So that's where, when I finally got there and started with these folks, and that's where I started encouraging artists to sit there and say, listen, educate your fan. Hey, many of you have asked what's an independent artist. Let me explain kind of what that means. That means I'm the bank. That means that, Ed Sheeran and Taylor Swift and everybody you see on TV, they have a record team company behind them. They have money behind them. They got all these teams. They got everybody. Well, as an independent artist, that's me. So all this music that you love, the songs you're dancing to at your wedding and telling me how they changed your lives, I had to pay for those. Those videos you like, I had to pay for those. The marketing, I had to pay for everything. So people are asking how they can support me and my business. That's why I have a merch store.
Right,
Everything
buy some.
tribute, everything that goes back into making the music that you guys have all told me has had an impact on. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. So the moral of the story is we have to stop waiting for people to figure out what we need them to do for us.
Right.
And we need to tell them. We don't need to beg. We don't need to be woe is me. No one's forcing you to be an artist. This is something you chose to do.
Right. You got to tell people so that they know. And I think that's a good segue because I want to tell people about the sponsor of this podcast. I want to take this moment to tell people about the sponsor of this podcast, which is Joyburst. And this podcast is being brought to you by Joyburst and the Joyburst Talent Search. So for the Joyburst Talent Search to enter, you can sing any song. You can sing any song you want that brings you joy, makes you feel happy, makes your heart feel good. Upload your post to TikTok or Instagram and hashtag Joyburst Talent Search for an opportunity to win $10,000 cash. So yeah, if you are looking to move your
Yeah.
career forward, you have to do something. You got to let people know. And since Rick said you got to let people know, I wanted to let you know that there's a real opportunity here. And there's something that you can do to try to move your career forward, because you are going to have to pay for your recording. You are going to
Sure.
be paying for getting your merch printed up or whatever. You are going to be paying for the gas to drive to your next show. And every little bit counts, especially if you're just starting and you need to begin the process of educating your consumer.
And first, you need to educate yourself, because a lot of you are getting into a business you know nothing about. And there's a lot of things that need to take place on the front end of your business. So just because you can sing and have talent, be careful. It's like, it's no different than any other job. It's like, so just because somebody wants to be a doctor doesn't mean they start operating on people.
Right.
It's like, well, I decided I want to be a doctor. So musicians ought to think, well, I've decided I want to be a singer. I should be on the big stage. It's not how it works. That's not how life works. That's very unrealistic. But you've got to educate yourself on your business, or your business will fail, period. And don't wait for somebody to come around and do it for you. Don't wait for someone to come around and give you permission to be awesome. Kevin and I are giving you permission to be awesome right now. So go out there and be as awesome as you can be. Stop waiting around for somebody to validate you.
Yeah.
Because who are they? People come to me, Rick, would you listen to my music and tell me what you think? I'm like, dude, you're a jazz artist. I'm a 55-year-old white guy that loves hip hop and R&B from the early 2000s. I'm not probably going to be the best guy to tell you how great your jazz song is. Go ask a jazz person. But Rick, nothing. Because the worst thing you can do is get too many industry people to each give you their opinion, because they're all going to be different, and you're going to be spinning around.
Right. What do I do? What do I put out?
Rick said I should do this. It's like, go to your fans. If they don't listen to it or share it, it probably sucks. So fix it. That's it. People won't share stuff that they don't like. So if you're posting and you're getting engagement and nobody's sharing it, that's a little secret that maybe it's not as good as you think it is.
Right. Or
So
maybe
then
it's
go
the
to
wrong audience.
ChatGPT.
Maybe it's you're pitching it to the wrong your target is like the wrong place. I mean, I know for me, for me, I managed to accomplish like what I would feel like is a lot in a performing
Right.
career. Like I got to open for national acts.
Yeah.
But I knew, I think that there's like a little bit of like reality checking that you have to do it yourself sometimes too, where I knew I was just like, you know what, this isn't converting the way that I want it to convert. And, I was doing tour support for like 2.5 years. And it's like, this is enough time for me to have seen something. It's not working that way. I should probably like pivot my mind. And it wasn't making sense for me to sell to people, quote unquote, in terms
Right.
of like, let me try to build a massive fan base and write it off that. And that's why I made the pivot to music for television and advertising. So it's like, oh, look, there's a space over here that it turns out I'm suited for it. Like I'm well suited for it. And it was just a completely different kind of thing. Sometimes I think it's a matter of just like not being so caught up in the stars of like, this is what I thought in my mind it was going to be, and like not allowing yourself to see all of the other opportunities that are just like right there around you.
Well, keep an eye on the signs. It's like when I left Taylor, I went and managed a couple other artists, and then I realized how frustrated I got when these artists are all signed to labels. We just have to sit around and wait to become a priority. We have to hope that we get on the right tours. We have to hope that the radio stations fell in love with the same song that the record label fell in love with, because that most of the time that doesn't happen. There were just so many things out of my control, but I also knew that I could only work with 2 or 3 people at a time based on the size of the management company that I had, which was just me and a couple people, because we didn't have acts making millions of dollars every year, contrary to what people think when someone signed to a record deal. When someone signs to a record deal, they're in debt for the first couple years, because they have to go in the studio. That costs money. That goes to the debt of the artist. They have to get their website built and new images and pictures, that costs money. That goes to the debt of the artist. And then they go out on radio tour for 6 months, and that costs a lot of money, and it's all put onto the debt of the artist. So by the time that song gets released for radio, if you're lucky enough, you're already usually a couple $100,000 in the hole.
Recoupables, right?
And only recoupable from your small percentage too, not from the 80%. The label doesn't recoup from their 80. They recoup from your 20. So they keep their 80. Your 20 goes back to recoup. So you're only paying back your loan. It's not dollar for dollar. It's, let's say for simple math, it's for every 20 cents you make, you give that 20 cents back for that loan.
Right.
So that's a whole nother episode and a whole nother deal. But what people don't seem to understand is that debt and that pressure, I was like, you know what? I'm not making any money because the artist isn't getting paid the first couple years. So I'm doing all this work for free, crossing my fingers, hoping. And I'm like, you know what? Let me flip this thing. Let me go help tens of thousands of artists all over the world. Let me charge $100, $200, $300 for something that brings value to them. Let me get paid on the front end, because all the work that I put in to give is done on the front end. There may or may not ever be a back end. I don't need to sign people to contracts. I don't need to take commissions. So that's when I shifted my model, because people are like, well, if you're so good, why aren't you still managing major artists? I said, every year, phone rings 2 or 3 times a year going, hey, you want to come back in? We got this artist we just signed here at the label. I'm like, no, thanks. I'm good.
Yeah. I'm dealing with that right now. I'm literally dealing with, was that hard for you? What is that like for you?
It wasn't because I know me. And I learned a long time ago to stop fighting the system. It's like, I can't change the industry. I can only change my reaction to the industry. I can't change a person. I can only change my reaction to that person. So my father, real good example. My dad and I, namesakes, both of us hate to be wrong. We could argue to the death. I will never change him, but I know how to change my reaction. So I don't go, Dad, you're being a dick. No, Dad's just being Dad.
Right.
I know that. I know if I go ask him this question, this is what it's going to do. So that's on me. So I just kind of changed the way that I reacted. And then the problem is that I spent so much time trying to please everyone that got frustrating, because then I got the needy, the freeples in there, those needy people, the ones that just want so much of your time. Then it meant that I couldn't help the people that I really wanted to help. So then I started doing everything I could to retract the people I don't want in my life, versus spending all this time trying to think that I can fix everyone, because I can't.
Right. No, that's good. I think I need to hear that too. So for anybody who doesn't know, I look at Rick as like a mentor. Seriously, I really do. I really appreciate his thoughts.
Poor soul.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's because unlike a lot of people, and no names or whatever, I'm just what I will say is that people like you who are cool about just like being open about their life. Like, I'm pretty much an open book. I tell people what's going on, and I like that about you too, because you've been through life. You know what I mean? It's like,
right. No,
I can
exactly
vibe with somebody who has been through life, because I've been through life. So like, if there's a certain level, like there's certain commonalities in something where you see somebody who's been through life and they still are like on it, hey, like a constant betterment, that is a mentorship in of itself, because it says like, look, no matter what you go through, no matter how many ups and downs you have, like, you still keep going. And like, that's the kind of fire that I feel like you need around you, and people that you look to say like, yeah, I admire that person. I appreciate that person, so.
Appreciate it. I'm going to share something with you that I haven't shared with anyone yet. It's going to end up being, it's going to be a video. I don't know if it's going to be Instagram, It's good. I'm going to place it everywhere, but we live in a world today where everyone is so afraid of being canceled.
That's a fact.
I wrote this thing, and the title of it is "Please Cancel Me Immediately." There comes a time in life where we have to realize we are not for everyone. I have tried my best to help indie artists understand the music business for the last 10 years, but it's getting exhausting. So it might be time for me to be canceled. In a world where everyone is hoping they don't do something to get canceled, I am asking to be canceled. If you identify as one of the character types below, it might be time to cancel me. You heard me correctly. I want to be canceled. Stop following me on social media and unsubscribe from my email list. Stop showing up to my free training. Be done with me. And here are the people I wish to be canceled by. Number one, the entitled. No one owes you anything. Just because you decide to put out music doesn't mean everyone should start supporting you. Stop expecting everything for free. It costs money to run a business. How do you expect anyone to buy your music or invest in your business if you are unwilling to invest in yourself? If you identify as the entitled, please cancel me. Number two, the complainer. If you're someone who's always complaining, I cannot help you. I want nothing to do with you. The music business has changed, and it's up to you to change with it. Just because you decided not to learn something, invest in getting the knowledge, or hire someone to do it for you, doesn't mean it doesn't work. It means it didn't work for you. The internet won, as did social media. Deal with it or don't. Your call. For every problem, there is a solution. Either find it or stop whining. Complain to your mama. Maybe she'll listen to your nonsense. If you identify as the complainer, please cancel me. The excuse maker. If you are constantly making excuses as to why things are not happening, it is probably because your music isn't that good. Yes, I said it. You never hear excuses from people with talent, desire, and work ethic. So step up your game and stop flooding the internet with your bad music and lame excuses. It is already too crowded. And if you identify as the excuse maker, please cancel me. And finally, number four, the unrealistic. If you have ever muttered the phrase, I cannot believe they are trying to build their business off the backs of musician and artist, cancel me right now and never let me back into your life. That is like saying, I cannot believe restaurants are building their business off the backs of people who like to eat. Or car dealers are building their business off the backs of people who don't want to walk. We all have families to feed and bills to pay. I haven't found a bank yet that will let me deposit generosity. My mortgage expects me to pay in cash. There are some great music marketers who spend tens of thousands of dollars of their own money learning skills, sharing their knowledge, investing in technology, and sharing their experience to help people like you get your music out into the world and build a real music business. That is their job, and they should be paid for what they provide. When you go to the doctor, the consultation might be free to diagnose the problem, but you must pay for the surgery and treatment for your problem. Also, just because you purchased something that didn't work for you does not make it a scam. No one forced you to purchase. Maybe you bought something before you were ready, thought you were the exception to the rule, or your music wasn't competitive yet. Possibly your talent didn't match your desire. That is on you, and it doesn't make it a scam. So stop saying it like that. It's like blaming a Ferrari for being a bad car and useless because you don't know how to drive a stick. The bottom line is I cannot help you or even want you in my world if you are any of the above. It's draining. I want to be at my absolute best for the right person. But if you are an artist who understands there are no shortcuts, has music that can compete, can take instruction, and is willing to invest the time and the money to pursue your desire to have a music business and realistic shot, I got you and would love to help. Go to rickbarker.com/extract. I will show you exactly what it will take to find real music fans, what to do after you find them, and how to build relationship with those new fans, getting you one step closer to having the music career you've always wanted. So
Shots fired.
that was just something that I was just kind of putting out there because what it did is it allowed me to, one, piss the right person off, because whoever gets pissed off by it, they know I'm just straight up talking to them. I don't want them around.
Right.
People like you that go, that straight up are going to go, you know what? I want to know more about this guy. Because while everybody else is walking, no, because there's a time when we need to Get rid of people that are dragging you down when you need to get rid of those things. I did a podcast episode one time, speaking of podcasts, Music Industry Blueprint Podcast.
Check that out.
Basically, it said, yes, sometimes you need to quit because you hear things like quitters never win. Well, I beg to differ, because if someone's in a relationship where they're getting the crap beat out of them, quit that relationship. You're not a loser by walking away from abuse. If you're doing something that's not healthy for you, quit it. So I don't believe that you never quit. Oh, yes, you do. If it's the wrong thing, you quit. If it's the wrong
Right.
situation, you quit. If it's you move on to the next thing. You don't quit looking for the solution. You just quit that, because that's obviously not the solution. And that's where I think people are at sometimes, is they're just afraid to walk away, because what happens is when I put that out, I attract the right person into my world. The person who's going to go to my website and come learn from me already knows who I'm looking for. They already know who I can help. They already know who I don't want in my world.
Right.
So I'm going to get that out of the way right away. I'm going to go ahead and let people, F you, Rick Barker, screw you. I get that a lot, because that's not my person.
It's like quality control. I mean,
Absolutely.
I feel like you do it in so many, all of us as humans, like we do that in so many areas of our life. We quality control, we police for like
Yes.
certain types of people or certain types of environments or
Yep.
certain types of work scenarios, or, like you have parameters, like
You have to.
yeah, everybody has parameters, or well, not everybody does, but well, you know what?
Everybody should.
Everybody
You
should,
should set
right.
your own boundaries of how people can treat you, how you expect to be treated, how you treat other people.
Right.
Sometimes we just sit there and we take it. No. There's a way to take it and get out of it without being rude or kind of crazy. It's just, hey, this just isn't the right thing for me. I get people that pitch me all the time for the podcast, and they'll be like, they'll come to me too early, and I'll say, you know what? You're still in the venture capital start. When you've been working for a couple years and you can bring me results, dude, I'd love to share your story, but I'm not going to just waste my time talking to people about a hope or a dream. Shit, they're all chasing hopes and dreams right now. I don't need to bring that into their world,
Right.
So don't be afraid to walk away. Don't be afraid to cancel yourself. Don't be afraid.
I dig that. It's crazy because I do think that right now everyone is concerned about how they're perceived. Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. It's like, well, how am I perceived, and can I be perceived as like authentic? For there to be so much of an outcry for authenticity and a need for authenticity, it's like, wow, like there really isn't any.
No,
Like
but
there really isn't any. It's really hard to be able to. Maybe it's not hard. It's actually very easy, but I think that you face social scrutiny if you just keep it real sometimes.
But you're going to get that from everyone. Like a guy just sent me a thing. He responded to an email. And as you see, I just took my glasses off. So with my glasses on, you don't see my dark bags.
Right.
I've had these my whole life. I did way too much crack in the 80s. You know what I mean? It never went away. I'm coming up on a 31-year sober birthday. But so the
Congratulations.
guy's sitting there and he looks at me and he's like, dude, are you tired? Are you okay? I'm like, no, this is how I look.
This is
Well,
my
I don't
face.
believe that. He goes, I don't believe that because your profile picture doesn't look like that. I said, dude, my profile picture is an AI generated cartoon of me. He was like, so I go, and go bother somebody else. It's like, I sleep really well. Yeah, I got a little arthritis in my knee and it hurts, but this is me. And so I would do a lot. I pay a lot to do Instagram ads to get to people. So before I got my Vibe board, I had this big white board like everything else, and my dark skin gets up there and you see these and people are like, bro, who's the vampire? Tell the guy to lay off the crack, the heroin, all this kind of stuff. And then people would come back and go, dude, you need to get to know him. This is how he always looks. Judge him by what he teaches, not how he looks. And I'm like, this is the best I got. I can't do it.
This is
So
my face.
So I went on, and one of my assistants gave me these like puffy things that you wear underneath your eyes. So I put them on. So they're these big like white strips.
Right. They look like crescent moons, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I did a whole video, teaching video, making zero reference to these things that were on my eyes, which got everybody going, what, does this guy not realize he left his stuff on? Wait, what? So it started this conversation. And then I came back and I started making fun of it. I had a table full of makeup. So I get there, I'm doing this, I do the whole thing. And I put everything on that I said, Maddie, is this how you do it? And my face just looks like war paint all over it. She's like, no. I said, you told me if I wore this makeup, it would fix my eyes. She's like, I didn't tell you to wear it all at the same time. So I did that. That opened up a whole lot of doors, because the people that were talking shit were like, dude, this guy's got balls. I like him.
Right. And it's
I want to
authentic.
find out more about this guy.
Yeah.
And then the last one that I did is I did an Instagram live in the Green Hills Mall, walking into the Mac store, asking, I said, do you guys have a black girl or a black guy? Don't matter. I need a black makeup artist, because they'll understand how to get
tone in my skin.
The darkness. Yeah. So I'm doing this thing. I said, hey, she was super nice. I said, listen, I'm in here because I'm trying to help the world, and I'm doing all this stuff, and I spend $10,000 a month on Instagram ads, and people are calling me a crackhead and all this stuff. I said, I got to fix. So she made me beautiful. I mean, it was like, but it was something that I couldn't duplicate. And then, so finally I just went to my audience and I said, listen, here's the thing. Some of you get disturbed because of the black rings under my eyes. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I said, I smoke a hell of a lot of cigars. I sleep plenty. This is just, we call them my Portuguese bags. They just have always been here. I said, but please do not determine whether I can help you based on my looks, because this is all I got. This is, close your eyes and listen to what I say.
Listen to my voice, right?
Yes, it's like, just don't let this ugliness stop you from getting the knowledge and education that I want to be able to provide to you. And it was when I did that all of a sudden, who can call me fat if I've already acknowledged that I'm a little overweight?
Right.
No one. Who can say shit about my eyes if I've already acknowledged the black? So I disarmed the haters. And actually, some of those haters actually came into my world. It's like the whole reason I tell people on the front of my trainings, I will make you an offer at the end of this presentation. I said, I'm like a performer. I'm going to go on stage, work my butt off, and invite you to the merch table, and hopefully I did a good enough job to get you to spend a couple bucks.
Right.
That's the difference. I don't come up and say, hey, I'm Rick Barker. I used to work with Taylor Swift at American Idol and Sony Music and Big Machine Records, and I have a $997 course you should buy. I come in and say, hey, I'm going to give you something. We're going to determine if we're the right fit for each other, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to come into my world. And I think artists need to do that too. It's like, hey, here's the thing. I'm going to sit here and play for a little bit. I got a virtual tip jar. If you want to support the cause, know that everything that you put in goes to me recreating this music for you and recording and touring. So every little bit helps. If you really want to help, maybe you hit the lottery, DM me. We'll have a conversation. I'll put your logo on my CD. There's all kinds of ways that we can say I need money.
Right.
Without,
right.
Why do we give strangers money on the streets? Because they come up, one, they ask, and two, they usually tell us what it's for. Hey, bro, I'm hungry. Can you spare something? Hey, bro, I'm thirsty. I had one guy that said, I'll be honest, I need weed. I mean, I gave him money. You know what I mean? It's like he told
straight up about it.
I love the straight upness. You know what I mean? It's like, and the guy that says, hey, I'm hungry. And you're like, great, come with me. I'll buy you a meal at McDonald's.
He's like, no thanks.
I'll just take the money. He was the one wanting to go get the weed. That's why I gave the weed guy the money. Because he was honest. So be okay sharing with people. But one, make sure that your music is quality. Nobody wants to just support people because they ask. There's a lot of talent out there. No shortage. I can only imagine, how many emails Joyburst gets every day of quality talent. Quality. You've got to be able to compete. Get the music right. Get your message in front of the right audience. I said right audience. Kevin brought that up earlier. And then do everything you can to build a relationship with them, because ultimately that's where the money comes from, the relationship. They want to support you because they believe in you and they believe in what it is that you want to do. Don't get panicked about AI and don't worry about all this other kind of crap. AI can't build relationships. AI can't create melody. And it's like, somebody said something to me. I just ventured off on this. They were like, is AI going to replace? I said, no, the person who knows how to talk to AI and give it the best information is who's going to replace those other people, because AI is just a tool and it's only as good as what you put into it. What comes out is based off what you put in. So, all right, that's enough. That's enough.
Bro. No, you were on fire. You were on fire. And I want to thank you, man. Seriously. Thank you for coming on to the podcast. Thank you for everything. Really, I appreciate it, man. I genuinely do. You know, for picking up the phone, you know, for texting back, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it matters.
It's how we roll.
Yeah.
That's how we roll. And also too is that had I not seen you doing the work, I would have never texted you. I would have never sent you a message with my number. Like I said, I don't need more friends. People are always like, dude, I just want to be your friend. I'm like, dude, I do not have time for the friends that I have. You know? It's like, it's like I haven't seen my friends since forever, you know, but everybody wants to be my friend or wants to do this. It's like, they're like, Rick, will you mentor me? I'm like, yeah, I can mentor you through my courses. You know, you get to know and learn from me. And they're like, oh, you don't do it for free? I said, no, because I spent a lot of money getting mentored by people, you know, that I've never met. It's like, so yeah, it's kind of funny.
Well, I'm glad that you appreciated the hustle.
No, I do. Yep, I do. I absolutely do and did and always will.
Word. Well, we're going to link. What was that link again? We'll link it in the show notes.
Just have everybody just go to my website, rickbarker.com. You'll either get an invite to the most recent thing I'm teaching, or you'll get an opportunity to watch an on-demand training of the most recent thing that I taught. Either way, you're going to end up giving me your email address, and then you're going to be put in a nurture sequence, and then you and I are going to start building that relationship. And you can also hit me up on Instagram at Rick Barker Music.
Fire. Appreciate you, Rick.
Awesome, brother. Appreciate you.